everybody hear me? Welcome, everybody, to the 6th annual Southwest Riverside County Quick Pitch Competition. Actually, it's our 5th because we skipped 1 year due to COVID. But last year we were able to come back virtually, and now we're live and in person for the first time in a couple of years. We're so glad to have you all here. So today we're going to do 6 pitch competitions. We have 6 companies, startups from this region, pitching here before us, and those companies are Neuroblast GX, TX Genetic, Dream Diver, Silas, Swelter, and the Autism Oasis. So we're very happy to have all those companies here. We can give a little round of applause for them. We also have a total of 5 judges. So we have 4 from our local cities that are representing each city that is represented here by the companies that are pitching. We have from the city of Murrieta, Councilmember Christy White. And from the city of Temecula, Councilmember James Stewart. Next up, our Mayor Pro Tem from the city of Menifee, and also our host today, Mayor Pro Tem Dean Dinas. Like finest. That helped a lot. And Mayor Pro Tem from the city of Wildemar, Joseph Morabito. And then we have a special guest judge from Shark Tank fame. It aired in December, Hans Dose, who actually made a deal on Shark Tank. And so these judges are going to have the task of rating all of the companies they see pitching up here today. And they're going to be judging on 5 core categories. Everybody should have had these shared with them, but just to go over them right now, the categories you're going to want to address throughout your presentations are value. So you're going to want to make sure that you explain what the value proposition of your company is. Differentiation. How are you different? How are you meeting a need in the marketplace? Viability and scalability. What's the plan to grow this business? Do you have a plan to make this bigger? Team, what are the members of your team and how do they help you meet those plans? And the pitch presentation itself, what's the quality of your pitch presentation? So these are what these fine judges are going to have to look at and decide who did the best job today. Now, the person who does the best job, or the group that does the best job, is going to win $1,000 today, and that is sponsored by 2 fine business owners that are here with us, and I'd like to ask them to come up, if they would, the law offices of Benjamin Diedrich and DIY Divorce. And they're going to be splitting the prize money. So the winner today will receive $1,000. And if we can, Ben, come on up here. Kristen, come on up here. Who wants to speak first? Quick note from our sponsors. Here you go.
My name is Kristen Harrison. I run DIY Divorce. I am cheaper than a hitman.
Yep. We need to trademark that for you.
Perfect. So I have been in business for over 9 years now, and I am a mediator. I work with both parties. So I keep people out of court. I prevent high attorney's fees for families going through dissolution, divorce.
Great, Kristen. Thank you. My name's Benjamin Diedrich. I own a law firm here in Menifee. I'm a registered patent attorney, so we focus on 2 things and 2 things only: intellectual property. So that's why I've been happy to sponsor this event for. Have I been sponsor every single since day one, right? So, and Kristen as well. Yes. So happy to sponsor. It fits right in with what we do, growing the technology in the area. Happy to do it. So happy to do it again, and thanks, Scott.
Thanks for being here.
Everything you need from concept of thought to divorce is right there for you guys. And with that, we're going to get started. We want to jump right into the presentations. We did a random selection to see what order we're going in, and our first presenter today is Dream Diver. So if Dream Diver would like to come on up here, here's the way it's going to work. You've got 5 minutes to pitch, and Patrick Franklin Ellis in the back of the room here is going to be handling the stopwatch. At the 5-minute mark, you guys are going to get cut off. You're starting to work into your Q&A time. After that, you're going to get 5 minutes for Q&A for a total of 10 minutes. We got a question from the crowd. Patrick. There you go. So you're going to want to close it up and zip it up when you get to that mark. You got 5 minutes total, and then you got a 5-minute Q&A. The Q&A is going to come from our judges here, who are going to ask you questions to help try to figure out if they've missed anything in the scorecard. Make sure they give you a chance to get those questions answered. So we're going to start off with Dream Diver. Gentlemen, come on up. And clickers right here.
Did you get my bribe? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Do I just cue you when I'm ready? Okay. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ira Davis. I'm super excited to be here with you today. I am a former Marine Corps drill instructor. I am now the founder of a transformational coaching company called the Dream Diver Company, where we help aspiring world changers and visionary leaders pursue the greatest calling of their life. And I'm excited to present to you today a new division of our company called Dream Diver TV, where we give access to ordinary people, unprecedented access to the most inspiring stories on the planet to help them accomplish their extraordinary dream. One thing I want you to know this morning is that there's a quote that says, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. What does that really mean? Is that we will spend the majority of our awoke life at work, which means if you're not working in the area of your calling or your purpose, you are actually doing three things. You are living unfulfilled, uninspired, and unhappy, and ultimately killing yourself on the inside. The data says that 50% of Americans, 160 million people, are living and publicly said last year that they hate what they do for a living, which means that most Americans are living a life that they hate. Now I want you to meet David. David is a husband. He's a father, like many of us in this room, your mothers, your wives, etc. He's the VP of sales of one of the top companies in America. One thing about David that I want you to know is that he didn't start where he is today. He started like many of us, like myself, who had a dream as a little kid to do something inspiring, something world-changing. David went off to university, got a degree in business, found himself now as an adult, graduated from from college, and now he has to pay bills. He's got student loan, he's got a wife, he's got kids, and so he takes an entry-level corporate job, right? Because David is a high performer, he comes from a great family, great culture. He's a high performer, he's enthusiastic. He works his way up from that entry-level position to a top VP in his company. One thing starts to happen is that David and his family and his friends begin to realize that his character is beginning to change. David wakes up one morning and he realizes that little kid who had a dream is no longer the kid that he thought he was going to be. He finds himself in a position that he never thought he would be in, and now his character, his composition, and things like that are beginning to suffer because he now has a job that allows him to live what everybody would consider to be the dream, but it's not the dream for his life. So David, like most people who find themselves at the top of the food chain, don't know how they got there, and they've been hiding behind a massive success only to realize that they are unfulfilled, uninspired, and unhappy. So David does what most people do. We go home and we sit down and we watch Netflix, and we try to drown our sorrows away in what I call mindless entertainment. What David realizes is he's not looking for something to take his mind off of what he's going through. He's looking for something to feed the dream that is now coming alive in his heart. And so David searches all the major streaming platforms, Disney, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and he can only find a handful of titles that will feed the dream in his heart. So David turns off the TV and he begins to pray, and he says, man, I wish that there was a company, a network, an organization that was specialized in making transformational media to inspire the dream that's in me, so I don't have to escape with mindless entertainment, but that I can shift with transformational entertainment. Key, Dream Diver TV. Dream Diver TV is a streaming documentary network that is designed to give ordinary people like you and I, who have extraordinary dreams, unprecedented access to the most inspiring stories and people on the planet. People that you know of, like The Rock, Oprah Winfrey, and some of the people in this room that some people have never heard of, but are doing some of the most inspiring and transformational things on the planet. What makes us special? We are a niche documentary network, which means that we don't generalize, we specialize. Where Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu is the Walmart of everything for everybody, we say no, we are the bread on the bread aisle for people looking for bread. What makes us special is that we will create original in-house content. It will be exclusive only to our platform, nowhere else, and we will give you unprecedented access. That means if we're making a film on Tom Brady and how he became the greatest of all time, we're going to bring our cameras into his life and give you access that nobody else has ever been able to get access to. We have a special formula here. It consists of inspiration, transformation, cinematic and story-driven documentaries that are not talking head films, that are not talking head videos that you would find on YouTube, but these are inspirational and transformational documentaries. Here's our business model. Subscription video on demand, $6.99 a month, $6.99 annual per year. Okay, this will be available on all streaming platforms via platform, TV, mobile, laptop. Here's our market fit. 160 million people worldwide, in America are unhappy. OTT, which is a streaming service, what's called over the top, is actually a $1 trillion industry, and 82% of people in America, 82.4 million people, have streaming services, okay? Our competition includes generalized networks, online education, but we specialize in transformational media. Where other people minor, we major. here's my awesome team. Don't worry about me. I'm just a guy with a vision and a dream. My CCO, Chief Content Officer, she has created some of the top exceptional media for companies like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. She's executive produced TV for CMT. She's executive produced QB1 on Netflix, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and that's my time. Thank you.
Judges, it's your time to take it away. If you want to start asking questions, we got 5 minutes of Q&A.
All right, I'll start. So where do I sign up?
See me after.
Huh?
See me after. You'll be a legacy member.
Right? No, very impressive. I mean, the way you spoke with, that's the one thing I don't like when I hear a presentation is when somebody isn't sold out themselves. You're sold out. You know, I got that through and through. I mean, I loved your presentation, so good job.
Thank you so much.
How do you get producers to make the shows?
That's an awesome question. One of the things that we're actually doing right now is we are raising funds to bring on our CCO. This lady I just told you about who has extensive industry experience. She has years, 20 to 30 years of industry connections with every producer, filmmaker, agency, and talent who has those connections. So when she picks up the phone and say, hey, I have this inspiring company that I've been tasked with building transformational media agency, I need you to come to the table and bring us your best work, your best stories. And so it's really a relationship industry because, you know, content is very expensive. And so, but here's the number one thing, and this is why she wants to work with us, is she said, I could make anything in the world with anybody in the world, but everything that I made doesn't matter. I'm ready to make things that matter.
When does it go live?
That's a great question. So again, we're in the process of raising money to bring her on and my COO on so that we can get very fine-tuned with what production costs, what our filmmaking slate will cost, and what our marketing will cost. So that's the stage where we are. But we anticipate at least 1 to 2 years from now. What you don't know is this is a sister company to my parent company where I speak and coach on the aspect of purpose and dreams. And so our marketing channel is actually my speaking and my coaching and my books and things that I write. And so we're in the process of building our influence so that when we launch this, we have a nice database of people who are ready to buy.
So when it goes live, are you going to go 24/7, or do you want to keep it down to the quality content and maybe just have 4 hours a day?
So this is, when I say streaming, I mean not live streaming. I mean subscription video on demand in a Netflix model. So it's always ready and accessible in that format.
Hi, great enthusiastic pitch. You really knew your material. You really rock and rolled it. It was fast and furious and full of information and good slides. I think you really spent some time defining your need. I do have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are your competitors now in the marketplace and in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So most people would think that the major platforms like Netflix and Hulu are our competitors. We compete not on content, we compete on dollars spent and time spent when somebody comes from their normal job, because you only have so many hours in a day after you come home from work. So really we compete in a niche market, right? So there are some other niche streaming platforms out there that you probably would have never heard of because they're niche, like people who love cowboys and people who love dogs, and like we compete in that niche streaming documentary arena with people you've never heard of. But what most people don't understand is that is an enthusiast market, which means people who are willing to pay top dollar to get content that is exclusive to the things that they love and that they like. And being that the personal development industry is a $10 billion industry, there are people who are willing to pay top dollar for this content because it doesn't exist in this realm yet.
Concise answer, good. How will you promote this business and then ramp up with your customer base?
Yes, ma'am. And so as a speaker, I run a coaching business, and so we do our own live events. And so because of our internet content, we attract a certain base that is both faith-driven and personal development-driven, who love to learn and listen to the things that I speak and teach them. So that's one way we're building a base. The other way we're building a base is that we are planning to launch bigger live events where we can bring in the community and do what we call a hybrid event, where it's part personal development, where we bring in the people we feature in our films to speak from stage at these events, but also we preview new trailers and new film content at this event. So you think TEDx meets a concert meets a film festival. These are how we're going to build our engagement, doing what most streaming networks can't do, which is to create community. Netflix can never create community because they're so generalized.
Are there any regulatory considerations in breaking into this market?
I don't believe so. No, it's just a matter of licensing the stories from people, both what we call A-list celebrities and people we've never heard of. And so just making sure we get the license to tell their stories and to share those with other people.
Who'll be doing your legal to oversee those licensing?
The young lady in the purple who was just up here. Yeah, no, my guy back there in the yellow, yes, he'll be doing our legal. No, that's something that we're still in the process of looking for. And so as we build our team with my COO and CCO, they've been in contact with some of the greatest entertainment lawyers in the industry.
And lastly, are there measurable and achievable milestones on your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have the answers to that just yet because that is a couple of months beyond where we are today. But those are the things that as we raise this first round of funding, that we're going to be working very hard to really measure what comes next after we build our executive team to get there. So thank you so much.
One more question. So is there content that's already on the out there that you can start or are you going to start fresh with your own complete content, you know?
That's a great question, and that's been a debate amongst our team. It's probably cheaper to license than it is to start fresh. However, we have a formula, and so it'd be the equivalent of McDonald's bringing in somebody else's stuff so they can get started. It's not the same, and so how we figure how we start is how we will end, and so that is our strategy. We'd rather move slow and be original and exclusive than to move fast and again be a generalist.
A couple of questions. You mentioned about PDF workbooks or something like that?
Yes, sir.
What are those original ones, or are they something that already exists that you're going to offer for download? Great
question. So let's just say we got a documentary on Michael Jordan that you've never seen on how he became great. What we want to do is create a companion workbook so that somebody watching the film can download this workbook, take notes, it'll have fill-in-the-blank notes so that you're not just watching entertainment, you are learning, and you now have a playbook for your own personal growth and for your own dream that is cumulative as you watch these films to help you become who you were created and called to be.
Last question I had, when are you going to bring on a technology officer? Because you're going to have to understand and house your material somewhere. Have you got to that point yet?
That's a great question. So the technology is very commonplace. These OTT customizable tech pieces, they're all over the internet. There are hundreds of companies who will provide this tech piece. And so we found a company that we want to partner with. And so my COO has a tech background. He was an executive VP at eBay way back when they got ramped up. And so his whole space is business development, technology, and marketing. And so he's going to spearhead the whole tech side of the company until we grow and we have to expand.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like this executive team is exactly what you need to get crushing forward, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
How are you along the process at this point of getting everyone on board?
Yeah, everybody is on board. Everybody just says, hey, we live in Southern California. I need to eat. And so, right? And so we're in the process of raising the money for salaries. Because these people want to do this work, but they can't legitimately do this work without being paid to do the work. And so once we onboard them, then we can start putting shovels to the ground and really begin digging into more the business model and what is required for us to be successful. Thank you.
Great job. So just one quick little housekeeping note here. We go 5 minutes on the presentation. We do 5 minutes on Q&A, but we always want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask through the questions. So if we go over a minute here and there, we're going to be okay with that. We want to make sure our judges get their question time in. And before we bring up our next presenter, I do want to mention that this is a part of the larger Riverside County Innovation Month, which is a month-long county-wide promotion that includes presentations not just in this region, but all throughout the county. I believe there's 5 total pitch competitions going on. The winner from this competition will be able to compete in the grand finale, which is held in the city of Temecula this year, and it's on April 27th. So whoever gets the highest score here today will be in the finale. Now, today's competition has a $1,000 prize. The finale will have a much larger prize than that, and they're still divvying up how they're going to do first, second, and third, but there's going to be a much larger prize package in the finale, somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. So we're looking at a much bigger prize there. So definitely want to make sure everybody knows about that heading in. And our next presenter today in our random selection of order will be, hold on, drum roll. I lost it already. Will be the Autism Oasis. This advances your slides.
All right, great. Is this on? Yeah. All right, let's get started. My name is Heather Anderson, and I am the founder of the Autism Oasis and the creator of Nonverbal Autism Homeschool. I moved to Marietta back in 2014 from Washington, D.C., where I was the executive editor of a newspaper that was a trade publication for the banking industry. So my career was on fire, and then my son was diagnosed with severe nonverbal autism, which is a condition that requires full-time care. So I left my career, we moved to Marietta for family support and affordability, which wasn't a bad decision now given housing values. And I began caring for my son, and in 2018, I began homeschooling him. I created a program very unique and successful. It's worked great for him. I worked with a special ed teacher to develop it, and he has implemented some of my ideas in his classroom. Our charter school uses my techniques now, and then when the pandemic hit, I saw a lot of parents like me struggling. So how did I spend my COVID vacation? I digitized my plan. So what's the size of my market? Nobody really knows. It's all estimates, but based on estimates from the CDC, the Department of Education, and advocacy groups, we're looking at about 211,000 families like mine in the U.S. alone. Kind of a lowball estimate. We don't know yet how many families are homeschooling. Probably a lot more than we realize, but that's just in the U.S. I currently have students all over the world. I would guess around 1 million worldwide is a pretty safe estimate. Why not just send them to school? It's just not the right environment for many of our students due to an onslaught of sensory information, lack of communication, and kind of a zero tolerance environment in schools. It's not safe. They become aggressive. It's not safe for them, for the staff, for the other students. And there's also kind of a presumption of intellectual incompetence. Which is understandable, honestly, but us parents know that our kids are quite clever. They're sneaky little boogers. So what does a parent need to begin homeschooling? Well, my son requires all of my attention, so I didn't have a lot of time to vet, but I don't give up easily. So a parent needs curriculum, vetted, appropriate curriculum that meets state standards. Nobody wants to be audited. Instructional training. How are you a special ed teacher? Organization, support, am I doing this right? And time. They need to be able to download and go. We don't have a lot of time for learning. I eliminated all those pain points because I have them myself. How did I do it? All of the course materials are online, on demand, hosted on a platform that hosts courses, right? So pretty straightforward. I organize the curriculum into semesters of 18 weeks each, standard school semester. Each week I provide PDF downloadables, video on-demand instructional training for them to watch at their convenience, and daily lesson plans. Also, weekly live support on Zoom with a special ed teacher, the gentleman who helped me come up with my program. He's currently a teacher in the Hemet School District. My curriculum meets state standards. Naturally, it's based on California state standards, but they're all kind of the same. There's not a lot of regulatory oversight. So, that's kind of scary. Basically, they log in, download, watch the videos, and teach. My partner, Ken Sims, in just 2 to 3 hours per day, an average parent can make more progress with their special needs child than he can all day long in a classroom. I'm the only competition. My market is completely unserved. Here are my sales so far. I have 82 current students. About half of them have purchased an additional semester. These are kids who were written off, had no future. Each 18-week semester package is $349. My goal for this upcoming fall is 200 new students. If I capture 10% of the market, we're looking at least a $7 million annual revenue business, and that's very conservative, and that's the end. So, nailed the time. Thank you. Questions?
So you mentioned the number of unserved. So how are they served today?
The homeschool kids, they just cobble together what they can find that's out there. There is a lot of curriculum out there, especially due to the pandemic, but it's not exclusive to my market, to kids like mine. And there are about 1.5 million nonverbal autistics in the United States, and almost all of them are illiterate. However, up to 80% of them, according to studies, have average, above average, or genius level intelligence. It's a communication breakdown and a presumption of incompetence.
So what about socialization? Do you, is there something involved in this that I don't have an autistic kid, so I don't know if that's super important. I know for a regular kid it is. So is there something that, I don't even know, so.
Well, I focus on education. I really want to niche it down. Socialization means different things to different people on the spectrum. School, I don't think school is necessarily for socialization. It's for learning, right? The parents are kind of responsible for the socialization part, and that's definitely what our market does. Some of the kids like to be alone. Some of the kids are very outgoing. My son is extremely outgoing. Today's his birthday, and he's out having fun at the playground with other kids, but he's kind of a unicorn. A lot of them just can't handle it.
Yes. What is your marketing plan to gain these additional customers?
All right. When I was a newspaper editor, I learned a lot about website building and SEO. So so far I haven't done any paid advertising, not a lot of promotion. I'm just the only game in town with really good SEO and a website that tells you exactly what you need to know. I also offer live Zoom consultations with interested parents, just to make sure, I want to make sure that I have the right match too. I have a 50% sell-through rate on my Zoom consultations, and I have a pretty good following on social media. I also have a email mailing list of about 1,000, very targeted names, all parents of nonverbal autistic children. So basically, I just need some funding and support to hit the gas and let this thing grow.
My last question, what do you do to keep up with the latest studies and learning skills for autistic kids so that you can incorporate that into your program?
A lot of the studies aren't very helpful. They presume incompetence. This is kind of cutting edge. Now, a lot of the new studies are presuming competence and focusing on the communication part. That's where the breakdown occurs. I'm not an educator, but I am a journalist. So I read everything. I soak up everything. And I have my partner, who is a 32-year special education teacher with a master's degree. He retires next year and wants to come on board full-time. He wants a K through 12 program.
So would your company be a curriculum delivery content service, or are you a school?
I am not a school. I train parents and provide the curriculum so they can teach their children. I also have the only program that teaches parents how to learn and teach speaking apps for nonverbal autistics.
I'd encourage you to get that in the first part of your presentation.
The
That
speaking
you're training parents to help them.
Thank you.
And as a content then deliverer of curriculum materials, do you have to have an accreditation for the content of your curriculum?
Nope, I don't. I use a combination of existing curriculum that's available for sale that was developed by teachers. I modify the heck out of it. And then together with my partner, Mr. Sims, we have created our own curriculum as well. So it's a little bit of both.
And are there school funding elements that are transferable and usable with your program?
Yes, that's the exciting part, is that homeschool is only one market. I have charter schools that have purchased my program. I have public schools who have purchased my program. There's potential, everywhere, private school, public school, all over the world.
So do you? So are you? So right now you're like a lone ranger right now. So are you looking to build a staff, or are you going to try to keep this as a small operation?
The cool thing is it's so scalable. Once I create the program, because it's on demand, other than the support aspect, it can grow pretty easily. Of course, there's the dream of doing, in-person centers and all that sort of stuff. But I need an accountant, I need a lawyer, and I need maybe some tech people. Operations and finance is where I need the support.
I just want to say you should be really proud. Yeah.
Thank you.
Really, really good job. This is amazing. Yeah. I know the community is really tight knit because it's so niche. Is there a way to really tap into, some events or getting that community of really niche this issue, getting them more talking to each other and kind of building more of a community marketplace around your product?
Yeah, there's a lot of potential. Being a former newspaper editor, I can place articles in autism publications like that because I know the lingo. I also have made incredible inroads into certain communities by word of mouth. I have a lot of students in Miami in the Caribbean immigrant community. I have a lot of students near Quantico, children of Marines. I have a lot of students in Wisconsin, in Madison. So there's a lot of word of mouth. There are some organizations that specialize on severe nonverbal autism, and I'm very active in those as well. So there's a lot of potential, yeah.
Very cool. I have someone maybe I can connect you with too.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we all kind of know somebody who knows somebody like this. Like 211,000, I think, is pretty conservative. And unfortunately, the rates are rising, so it's a growing market. Thank you.
Thank you. And excellent job. That's right. I got to remember to get the clicker back. And remember, if you're looking for a lawyer, don't forget about the law offices of Benjamin Diedrich, our sponsor today. And to everyone else, if you're looking for a divorce, do not forget about the services of DIY Divorce. All right, next up on our list, number 3, we're going to have a presentation from Swelter. That goes forward.
Okay, cool. Well, I know that I'm going to subscribe to Dream Diver. Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Owens, the founder and CEO of Swelter. Swelter is an emerging patient immersion platform that educates patients and physicians in real time throughout their care. So my personal story in cancer, beyond my 20 years experience in the field, on February 17th, I lost my father-in-law to melanoma. And like many cancer patients, at a terminal diagnosis, he was told he had 3 months to live with an indeterminate radiology result. And they said, go home, there's no treatment for you. With my 20 years experience, I said that is not true, and I am familiar with novel testing as well as novel treatments that we need to explore. So that's what we did. Unfortunately, he lost his battle on February 17th. However, he got 14 months with his family instead of 3 months. This is a common story, and I know that there are probably people in this room who've dealt with the same frustrations as I have in my family, and every person on that screen shares that similar frustration and story. Combined, my team and I have 60-plus years in healthcare technology, innovation, cancer diagnostics, and clinical care. And we've released and developed some of the most innovative solutions and strategies to help advance cancer care. So what really is the problem? More than 17 million people are living with cancer in the United States. 1.7 newly diagnosed cancer cases. And of those 1.7 million newly diagnosed cancer cases, 60% are not receiving the appropriate testing that would get them to the right therapy. And you scratch your head and you go, how is this possible after many decades of dealing with this disease? But it is. The methodologies we use today to get to physicians and patients are actually very costly, they're outdated, and ineffective. And when COVID hit, I said, this has to change. I've got to take a step back and think about this differently. I called all my peers in pharmaceutical companies and in diagnostic testing companies, and I said, how are you getting in front of physicians to educate them on what is available for them? Like my father-in-law. I got him a test that confirmed he actually had melanoma in the brain. The physician said there was nothing for him. So they said, we're not. The doors are closed. The physicians are about 20 to 30 years behind in their education. And it's getting worse because they're seeing more than 30 to 50 patients a day. They cannot keep up. So what's the solution? So my colleagues and I came together with our knowledge and the gaps and understanding of technology. We said, like Amazon, which is a funny kind of analogy, but we shop on Amazon and we buy things and it says, oh, if you buy this, you might be interested in this, or it's most relevant to whatever it is you're looking for. There's no reason in time and technology today that we cannot do this in healthcare. And there is the technology to do this. So what we do is we built a platform that leverages a patient's own medical record through patient consent, HIPAA compliant, and we deliver content from those pharmaceutical companies and laboratories that are based on that patient's unique situation. Like my father-in-law. He would have gotten that information about that Biocept test that said, you have melanoma, we detected it from your cerebrospinal fluid. But you can't just educate patients, you have to educate the physicians as well, simultaneously. And this is where we're spending a lot of time in thinking and developing to make sure that the value that we're bringing to the clinic is something that absolutely be used and is not done in their medical record. Where are we today? We are a one-year company. I'm privileged to be in the Myriad Innovation Center. And we're chosen as a healthcare for startups company, and we've completed our first phase of the patient and physician app. This is a growing market with digital health, as you guys can imagine, with COVID, and we do believe our potential is more than 100 million in the space. The competition that's out there is very disjointed, and it's separate from your medical record, and it informs you about things that honestly sometimes are irrelevant or require too much work. The way that we work is a subscription-based model. We actually charge on a subscription to pharmaceutical companies and laboratories the ability to deliver their content to the physicians and the patients through our platform. The right information at the right time. And that is the cost of the average cost of a single sales rep per year. It's affordable for them. We are currently self-funded, and we're raising over $500,000 to scale our company with a quick $1.5 million to scale and commercialize. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the doctor education too, because I know I've walked into my doctor's office and said, hey, I've heard about this one particular drug that would work for me, and they always give me the eye roll and say, well, that won't be good for you.
Yes.
And that's the final answer. And so that's the one thing when I heard this, I thought, unless there's a doctor who's going to buy in and say this app really does work, and if you can get that cancer patient to feel comfortable with that doctor being able to accept that kind of quote unquote help, that's for me going to be the trigger that's going to make this thing blow up.
Yep.
Is when everybody feels comfortable going to their doctor instead of getting the eye roll and going, well, I know better than you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about bringing the information for the most meaningful conversation between the physician and the patient. We're at the mercy of what the physicians tell us. And it's not only have I worked in this, I've lived it with the people on my screen are my dad, my mom, my father-in-law, my now husband, and very good friends. I've lived the journey and I've been a part of it, and I was also excused from a physician's office for asking them very meaningful questions. But when they have that information together, because the physicians need that support too, the science has exceeded them. My background is actually in genomics as well, and they don't understand it. So if they could say, hey, there's this test, it just augments that sales rep's job, right? And now they just at least know it exists, and the patient know it exists. So that's our goal.
So two parts. First is the target market. Is that going to be people that have been diagnosed? And then for those people, how do they pay to use the service?
That's great. So it's already existing and newly diagnosed. It's basically every cancer patient that walks in the physician's office. We leverage the first initial consent process that the physicians already have you go through. It triggers the platform. They would normally send you papers through an email. Instead, you would sign them on our platform. And then when the patient comes to that first visit with their oncologist. Now, we also know that that's a newly diagnosed patient, but we also know that the existing patients that the physicians are seeing would go on this because it makes things a lot easier for them as far as data tracking and conversations with their patients. Great question.
From a branding standpoint, how did you derive the name Swelter, and what's its relevance to your actual product?
Yes, so Swelter is basically this idea to ignite your fire to become well again. So educating a patient, a person, and empowering them to ask the questions and talk to a physician and get well instead of this diagnosis of I'm always sick. I tell my husband is a 7-year cancer survivor, and I say, you no longer have melanoma, therefore you're not a cancer survivor, you're well, right? So let's get well. Thank you. That's a great question.
I can see the benefit for the pharmaceutical companies to get their products in front of the doctors and the patients.
Mm-hmm.
How open are the doctors? I mean, you've said that 2030, you've been kicked out. What kind of reception are you getting from the doctors that, some doctor may think you're second guessing their diagnosis or their treatment?
Yeah. Great question, and we're in a time and place of info overload, right? And what drives physician crazy is that a patient walks in with their WebMD, just like you described, all that information, and now they have to spend the next 30 minutes unpacking it and trying to get the patient to understand, and there's a lot of confusion and frustration in that language, and so they are actually the physicians are looking for these types of solutions because not only do they need help educating themselves and their patients so they can have those conversations and build trust, but they also need a modality to allow the patient to tell them how they're feeling. And this is very important for response to therapy, and we do that as well. So we're adding some additional value to the clinician's practice, just beyond saying, hey, there's this drug or this test. So there's a little more to our story, but a great question. And we're at a time and place that the physicians are really craving this.
Now, as a cancer patient, I go in, I download your app, get my medical records there, then what? Then what do I do? Because I'm a novice, I've just been diagnosed with cancer, things are flying around my head and everything. Yeah. What's next? What do you do to help the patient get to the next step?
Yeah, so another great question. So a lot of the apps that exist require a patient to input information about yourself. We actually leverage what's existing in your medical record. So after that first visit, we start to educate you on what is melanoma. What's immunotherapy versus chemotherapy? And then it takes you through that journey of information about your specific disease, because that's the information that's in your medical record. So it takes you on that journey versus you having to hunt and peck and all the confusion that exists.
May I do one quick one? Okay. You're not going to tell me no. Sometimes the patient, maybe because of age or different shock things that they're going through, how would your secondary market be reached of an advocate acting on behalf of the patient? Because maybe the patient doesn't have the capacity to start advocating and researching on their own. So how would you get the authorization to reach that secondary market?
I love that question. And because I'm one of those people, I understand this. So what we did is we have the ability I was my dad's power of attorney. I'm the one who cared for all of his stuff. I had a very hard time dealing with him at Regional Hospital over this. And so what he does is he permisses me to participate, or I, with him, permisses me. And then I have the ability to walk through and look at everything, as well as reach out to somebody like Michelle's Place and work with advocacy. I can invite in advocacy, and I can permiss them through the app to see certain things of my information and not other things. So my dad I could see everything from my dad, but maybe that advocate could only see maybe my test result or something else. So we have a whole in-app network for managing that.
Is the customer mainly the physician, or would you say the actual patients themselves? And is it more important to get the physicians to trust and use this product versus a patient?
Great question, and it is first and foremost the physician offices and practice. And so we are targeting large networks of oncology networks, because if they don't participate and agree, you're never going to get a patient on. And as patient engagement apps have failed, we have seen that patients absolutely will not follow through on a patient engagement app. Thank you. Thank you.
This is going way too on schedule here today, and that's not the way these things are supposed to happen. I'm very impressed. Give Patrick a buzzer and everything just moves right along. All right, so our next presentation, I like to keep it secret, but then I hide it from myself. Our next presentation is Silas. Click this way.
Okay. Tell me when to go, or do I? Did you?
What would you do if you had more time? Would you use it to save a life, or maybe even your own? Today I present to you a device that I designed to give you life-saving reaction time at a most critical moment. Good afternoon, judges. Thank you for your time and consideration, and greetings to my fellow innovators. I pray that we all make it. I believe greatness makes room for all of us. My name is Leslie Moore, and I'm the founder and CEO of Silas Manufacturing Corporation. That stands for Cautionary Illuminating Alert System. I designed a vehicle safety device that is placed on the back of commercial trucks to alert drivers that 1, the truck in front of them has drastically reduced speed, and 2, that their speed approaching is too fast. The purpose of this device is to avoid damage, injury, and death. Let us watch a brief video. The device is named after my mother, Priscilla, who everyone called Scylla. She had a smile that could light up this room and a laugh that you would never forget. She was killed on the freeway. Her car stalled, and a car hit her at full speed, flying onto an embankment, and she died April 3rd, 1988. Yesterday marked 34 years since this has happened, and we are still trying to figure out how do we reduce rear-end collisions. And I'm asking today that we do something about it together. This is how it works. It is a patent-pending, registered trademark device that is a coated retroreflective aluminum similar to a street sign. It can be magnetized for easy placement on the back of trucks or mechanically attached. It can also be detached to be used in the case of roadside emergencies as well. The device features a solar-powered system that has a tachometer that measures and recognizes speed differential. It uses if-then logic that triggers the LED lights to caution the approaching driver that the truck in front of them has slowed down or stopped. It warns that their approach to the rear of the truck is too fast. This device also can be customized to meet DOT standards per state, as well as for international use. Let's just imagine the third brake light was considered unnecessary when introduced in 1974, but now mandatory in every car. What I'm hoping today is that we create something that elevates our road safety in that manner. You may say, why commercial trucks? Well, car manufacturers are already integrating their own predictive collision alerts. However, we have 39 million registered commercial trucks on the road in the US alone, and fatal collisions in these types of trucks is increasing at 2% per year, and the market is virtually wide open. Let's talk about viability and scalability. For example, if this device can be procured and manufactured and ready to go out the door at $100, parts for this device are not hard to find. They are easy to procure. And let's say I use the price point of $175, and we can get just one in the 39 trucks on the road. That's 1 million out of the 39 million. That is a staggering profit of $75 million. And that does not even include us going into an international market that we have access to. When you think about technology and advisors, I have people that can help and support and have access to people in the fields of technology, data, insurance, and vehicle statistics. Vehicle safety sales advisors with over 40 years of experience, access to test markets, a truck operator who has field experience, electronic engineer who knows parts acquisition locally and globally, sales consultants who can sell, and lots of project management, business management, and marketing experience. Sorry, I'm really nervous. In conclusion, I have personally invested hours of design development, research, and my tears. The product addresses a global road safety issue and plus saving lives. Marketable, it's scalable, profitable, and my favorite part, it'll be made in the US and hopefully right here in Riverside County. So I thank you for your time and I welcome your questions.
Got a few questions. Well, one comment, I think you can probably get that cost down. Do you have a working prototype yet?
No, that's the part that we are working on. We're working through an app where we're going to put in all the parts and components that we need, see if we can get that to be viable, and then order pieces. So that way we're not ordering pieces and they're not working. So that way we can put the pieces into an app, see when it works, and then order those. And yes, it's a general number from procuring, looking online and finding the pieces without even going wholesale.
And then I saw some other sign options. Is this going to be changing and it will alert different signs based on what the situation is?
Thank you for that question. Sorry, I'm excited to answer. So DOT, California is probably the most stringent, but we can't have words like stop on the freeway. It has to either be slow or caution. So using like the universal sign, the octagon for stop with a message that says caution or slow, or we can use the triangle. The patent language says that we can either use the yellow triangle or the red octagon.
I would maybe look into licensing this product. I think this is a big market, and I think going the licensing route, I think you can do really well with this.
Instead of using the patent?
Instead of trying to manufacture it yourself and build the market yourself, I think going to someone that already manufactures safety products for trucking industry, I think you could do really well.
We've made some inroads and presented it to several manufacturing companies in the Midwest, and we're looking to find someone closer to home.
So I'm kind of confused. So how does it warn the driver?
So it's very similar. I don't know if you've ever driven through like a district that has like a school zone and you go by and the little light flash tells you that you're going too fast. It's similar to that. So it has like a measuring eye with a tachometer. So when it sees your approaching speed that it's too fast, it begins to flash and trigger to you that you're approaching too fast or slow.
So it flashes on the truck itself?
It flashes on the truck as if it's a completely self-encased device.
Okay.
And it can also be removed if you're stranded on the side of the road. You can anchor it down away from your car back so you can warn drivers that your car is stalled.
So is this going to be what you're hoping that people will voluntarily put that on there, or sort of like the baby on board signs, or more mandatory through the state?
We are not going to mandate, but we hope that we can, we've built a database of different trucking companies that are on the road right now that have a safety program. So we would like to do like a public relations campaign about with their safety program, saying we are trying to increase road safety. We've invested XYZ dollars into it. I think once we've talked to some logistics companies, and the pain point is rear end collision damage. And so there are a lot of companies that are like, what do you have for us? We would love to be able to solve this problem.
I wonder if something like this would help with their insurance rates, like if they had it. Sometimes that kind of thing happens.
Thank you for asking. We do have a relationship with the State of California Department of Insurance, and I'm hoping to be able to get an endorsement through them, as well as figuring out how we can adjust rates by saying that you have this on the back of your car, we can reduce a rate in this way.
Now, this is initially going to be for commercial vehicles. Do you have plans then to make another version for, cars and things? Because you mentioned about putting out on the road if you're broken down. Is that in the future, or can you do that now?
We could do it now simultaneously if someone has a car and they want to purchase it just to be for roadside safety to keep in their trunk. However, I don't know if you've noticed a lot of companies like Kia, however, they have different things that start to predict when you're going to have a collision. And we did bring this to Toyota a few years ago, and they were interested, but they were already doing something. And so we said, you know what, it's trucks. I mean, we see all of these collisions, rear-end collisions with trucks. Let's just focus on solving that problem or reducing that problem.
I know it's solar powered, but a lot of vehicles transport at night. Do you have any intentions of maybe adding some kind of a battery or something to it so it'll work at night as well?
Yes, we have an option where the lithium ion battery, the LED lights kind of last for a very long time. So we can integrate that as well. Those are all in the patent language, but we would definitely like to take advantage of the solar opportunity, especially when we start selling here in California first.
Do you happen to know, you mentioned, and it was really a interesting little factlet in terms of market research, you mentioned in 1974 that the third brake light mechanism became law. I wonder how long, if it started in something like, let's say, 1950 or 1960, the process of becoming a regulation. Did you do any market research on their process and how that could be applicable to your processing in launching?
No, but I will say that it was actually just introduced in 1974. I don't believe it actually came law until maybe in almost the 80s.
Is the patent pending, is that a design patent or a utility patent?
It's a provisional patent pending, and so I have a 12-month time clock from November to finalize my design to move on to utility.
And you can do different sizes, and because I could see this even as a much larger thing that is, okay.
Yes, it would have to be tailor-made, and I don't know if you've seen the back of trucks now, you probably will all the time, but some open this way, some roll up, so it would have to be customized per order, per type of truck.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Well done. This is what I love about Innovation Month. You get so many different types of companies with so many different types of innovations. It's never just one thing. It's kind of all over the place. Did we have a question? I thought I was getting a question. Okay. Oh, good. Agreement. Yes. Keep it real. Okay. So, and I think we're going to continue in that vein with another completely new idea as soon as I find it. And the next up is TX Genetic. Come on down. Neuroblast GX, by process of elimination, you now know what order you're going. You're the only one who had an advance warning for what order you're going into.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Helen Harrison, the founder and CEO of TX Genetic Research. We're specializing in precisional nutritional genomics for health-conscious consumers. All right, there we go. Nope, sorry. Great. Our focus is, from a service standpoint, is on a mucosa, which is our inside skin. It lines our lungs, our intestinal tract, our urinary tract, around our organs, and our vessels, blood vessels, and lymph vessels, and so forth. And it's the part of the body that directly interfaces with the environment, of the foods we eat, of the things we breathe, and the air. And it then is exposed to lots of toxins and harmful chemicals in the environment, and our body is supposed to protect us from that. But there are an extraordinary number of Americans who are affected by health conditions that directly involve the impact on the mucosa, like multiple chemical sensitivities, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, gluten sensitivity, interstitial cystitis. And if you add up all those numbers, you're looking at about 146 million Americans just on those main problems themselves. And they have a cost to our society in the terms of $441 billion per year for all of those together. So it is a huge market, and if we can help people decrease the experience of their illnesses by protecting their mucosa, then you help their health overall. Now, these aren't just statistics because they affected us. Medical professionals were stumped by our conditions, and so one day we said, we have to figure this out ourselves because no one is going to help us. So we, in 2016, got our own genetic profiles, exomes, genomic testing, and we developed genetic profiles for ourselves. Mine was interstitial cystitis, and I am working not only with my husband, but 9 other people who have chronic fatigue syndrome, and identifying genes involved in that. So what we discovered as part of the process, that inside skin degradation and fruit and vegetable chemical sensitivity go together. The problem is that environmental chemicals and individual biochemicals damage our inside skin. Our bodies are supposed to have genes that produce enzymes to protect us from this damage. But as a matter of fact, 17% of individuals have genetic mutations on certain types of genes that are supposed to detoxify us from these biochemicals when they come into our body. And this fact is not widely known. In fact, besides me and my husband, there's 3 other people in the group statistically here who have a certain level of sensitivities to the biochemicals in fruits and vegetables and don't know it. So the point is, fruits and vegetables are not good for everybody. The solution is to have a genetic variant analysis focusing on these damaging agents and the inside skin, and to provide health and wellness products and services such as diet training, nutrients, foods, and coaching. People need help learning how to change their diet. From a standpoint, we started in 2014 with the research because we were becoming more and more ill. And in 2017, we developed TX Genetic, have some funding from friends and family, and have now done research and development with 27 individuals in which we provided them genetic profiles, custom diet, nutrient formula sales based on a custom that I have developed a gene food database. Now, to do it individually, it's time intensive, expensive, and fewer people are helped. But automating the process will reach more people with greater efficiency. In our competitive matrix, we can see some of the major groups that do food genetic analysis. I have them listed there. The difference is that we have clarity on harmful chemicals. These companies do not test for harmful environmental chemicals and chemicals in our foods, and they don't have an integrated gene food database. Thank you. So we're meant to go to market strategy for dedicated consumers through the health and fitness market. The business model is one-time fees with pay per item and per event purchases and monthly subscriptions. And the FDA oversight is not required for the health and wellness business. Now, using a 2% impression to subscription conversion, starting with 10,000 subscribers the first year and then doubled in a half the next year, we can then grow the income versus the expenses. Our capital needs are to launch $550,000 because we have to create the programming and the intellectual property for this to be automated and grow it with the consulting services. We have a milestone investment timeline where we have to create the integrated website and application development, where you prototype it, A and B, and then finally publish it. And the exit strategy is for equity for investment, and we have proprietary intellectual property, and the exit strategy is to sell for institutional follow-up care programs. I and myself, my husband, have owned a small business and also have formal training in social science and physical science research, and we have our groups of advisors as part. We're part of the incubator program at the Marietta Innovation Center with Marietta Genomics. And does anyone have any questions?
So you were saying that fruits and veggies not good for everyone. One of my kids would have loved to have heard that back in the day.
I know that. I know. Scott often tells me that he's sure he's one of those 6 people.
So then what would be the approximate yearly outlay for someone to participate in your program?
Well, I have my idea of the model of the subscriptions. There's could be 2 different levels. Like $70 a month would be the first, and then $200 depending on if someone wants to buy prepackaged meals and so forth. Because these genes that go wrong exclude certain categories of fruits and vegetables. So you need to train someone on the diet. So there's nutritional consultation, and then food. Everyone is very busy. They like prepackaged food, so they get things that specify that's good for their diet. And then also there are certain nutritional supplements to help build the mucosa depending on what thing is going wrong, and that's why you need the genetic analysis to find the genes that are going wrong, because not everyone has the same problem, and so you have to find out what that is. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other
Does
questions?
finding these problems, are these known issues already and you can identify the DNA already, or is it still in research?
You mean broadly in terms of the medical community? Well, in terms of the research, it is already known which genes are responsible for processing these harmful, the body uses them in some capacity. They take out the nutrients we need, and the body then attaches things to then take the toxins out of the body. That's how it's supposed to work, right? So medical science knows what those are. But right, as is true with the individual who's doing the cancer studies, these genes are known. If they go wrong, they contribute to the development of cancer. And that's known and that's accepted. But what is not really understood is that prior to perhaps someone getting cancer, or someone doesn't get cancer at all, is that the exposure to these toxicities can create a type of chronic fatigue syndrome, which is what I had. And no doctor could figure out why I was chronically fatigued until I said I have to do the research to find out what it is. So that's the difference, is that there's already knowledge about how in very severe cases, because there are other genetic factors going on that would allow for the development of cancer, as opposed to factors that go on that allow a fatigue state to develop. So it's a complex, and hopefully I've been able to make it accessible in terms of your question. Did that help?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, great. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
You had me with your business plan and your model until I heard about prepackaged food as part of your solution subscription model. So would you talk about that?
Absolutely. A lot of people are very busy. They don't have necessarily time. And one of the things I've discovered in working with 27 people now is that they often are very much appreciate that they may have these sensitivities to these biochemicals, but the thought of having to change their diet is very overwhelming. And so I have found that it takes some coaching where they can talk to someone about what recipes they can use. I have an idea we need a cookbook. We could even have a streaming TV show that could appear on the channel to help people be inspired to take those steps to improve their health. Because everything that the culture says, fruits and vegetables are good for everybody, you ought to be taking them. And they are good for the people who can metabolize them, right? So the whole idea then is to make it easy for people. Some nutritional supplements to help improve their mucosa, make it easy, right? Have some packaged foods that they can eat quickly on a Friday night when they've come home late and they need to serve their kids. Make it easy. Give them a recipe book so they can just find out what alternatives they can use or how much they use. Portion control is a very important aspect, right? So we're trying to make it easy for the consumer to make these changes in this transition. Does that answer your question?
You had a lot of good information there, but again, at the tail end, you talked about prepackaged foods.
Right.
That's a manufacturing issue.
That's right.
That is a
manufacturing.
So how does that fit into your business model? Because that's really a whole nother go-to-market strategy.
Yes, it is.
That you would need to have relationships with. I was with you on the cookbook, the recipes, the ideas, the information.
Right.
But when you talk about
Right.
prepackaged foods
On
and
the-
manufacturing,
on the timeline, because obviously we only have 5 minutes, I had talked about the development of the food and manufacturing comes 2 years later, right? Right. So it is a staged entry because we're trying to increase the participation at the level that is easiest for the consumer to access, and then requires the least amount of effort to develop it thereafter. So we would want to build on their excitement and enthusiasm of their health is getting better, so it's like, okay, I'm going to spend my money on this, and then this, and then this.
it sounds like you've thought that well through, and that was helpful information that it was into your staged entry 2 years down the line. Thanks.
How does someone get a diagnosis? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, well, first we need to be cautious that we can't use the word diagnosis because we are a health and wellness company and not a medical company. But in terms of, because of the way genetics is studied and presented, we can, and the information in the research literature and in the genetic analysis software that we use, is that it's listed in terms of probability. So people have a high probability, moderate probability, or low probability. And that's based on how the information is presented from a research standpoint. And so we can't say it's a diagnosis, but since we're talking about food, I say to people you have a high probability that this group of biochemicals will be difficult for you. Try the diet. See if you feel better. You don't lose anything. You don't lose anything by trying the diet and taking the nutritional supplements. That's the beauty of it.
So your primary customer then would be those that already been diagnosed by a medical doctor, and this would be their way of maybe changing their lifestyle to
Someone can come
eliminate
with
their
a diagnosis, but someone may also come with the idea of, man, I'm fatigued and I don't know what's wrong with me. You know, doctors can't really say anything. So a customer may come with a lot of different for a lot of different reasons and different expectations. So it might be somebody who is referred by a doctor, who you might be somebody who says, I just want to make my my health better, and this is worth knowing and checking out. So they don't have to have a diagnosis on anything in order to find out if they may have some of these genetic variants. Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay,
So
great.
but is there a necessity then to do some genetic testing to know what?
Yes, that would be part of the service.
That's part of the service. Okay, that was my
And
other
that's part of
part of the
automating the genetic testing that right now I'm doing manually through a genetic variant analysis software.
Okay, out of curiosity, what does that involve? I mean, is it something that you have to go see to a medical facility to get
No,
tested?
anybody can order a genetic test.
Oh, so it's just like the 24andMe
Yeah,
or
it
whatever
could be
it's called?
23andMe,
It's
but we
something
would
like
want,
that. Okay.
use
Okay,
something
that's
that
what you
is
mean by okay.
larger, a very specific gene set that we're testing.
So I had a question about your subscription model. So what did you, because you said something about $70 a month. So it's not $70 a month.
Right, but for that, they would be ordering, besides information about a newsletter, maybe some recipes, right, to help encourage them to change their lifestyle. But there's nutritional supplements that they would be taking to help build their mucosa, because the biochemicals in the mucosa responds very well to certain types of nutrient supplementation.
Yeah, no, I got all that. What I'm confused about is how you're making money. So you're going to make money on is it an annual subscription? Is there going to be a one-time charge for the genetics testing? Is there going to be that's what I'm
Right.
not pulling in here.
Right. And I had a slide that I had to run through. There are 3 levels of income. You have a monthly subscription, you have a pay per item or per event, like an educational seminar or something like that, nutritional seminar, right? Or you're buying for your monthly subscription, pay item per event. Of course, I don't have it in front of me, and there's a third one. I apologize. And so it depends on, you have the base subscription, but if you're going to order food, you get a discount on the food if you have the subscription. You would get a discount on your nutrient supplementation. And remember, these supplementation nutrients sometimes they have to be specially made, and manufacturer is moving to be able to do custom supplement creation based on an individual's profile.
So your model is, though, you start with the base subscription. To be a part of your group,
That's
you're
right.
going to pay what? How much a month?
$70 a month.
That's a lot.
But that's why you get access to information. Would have nutritional counselor. You can call
$840 a
anytime.
year?
You have a nutritional counselor you can call anytime
Uh-huh.
in order to get the information. We have training in terms of cooking and right.
How did you come to that number? I'm kind of curious. That's $70 a month. How do you quantify that?
Through some conversations with Marietta Genomics and calculating what does it cost to have, first of all, you need a medical professional to supervise your service staff. You need to have people who are licensed in order as nutritional experts or dietitians. So the level of the individuals that are used to service this have to have a very high level of education. So that you have to pay for that, right? So the costs contribute to a very high level of service because of the quality of the individuals who are running the testing, giving the advising, giving the results of the test results, right? Everyone has to have some kind of medical genetic counseling, which Claremont Colleges now has a master's degree in genetic counseling. So those are the things that are required to have this kind of service.
For me personally, my wife's a big health nut like you. I mean, she'll buy anything. She'll go that route. But it really would be more palatable if I were a consumer, if the monthly fee was a lot smaller and all the add-on fees were much bigger.
Okay.
Because then it to me it's an easier ask.
Right.
When you're saying $70 a month, my lights just went out. It's like, no, I don't want another $70 a month payment. So, but if you were say, $19 a month, and then it costs you $200 or $300 to have your test done, and then you had, if you had to make a call and you wanted to make to me the upcharge would be a lot easier to swallow than a monthly, because I might not use it.
Yeah.
And for me to be paying that $70 a month, or my wife paying the $70 a month that I'm actually paying, that would be a rub in my wallet. So it's that's, I mean, just
Sure, that's a great different strategy, and we'll look at it and see if that.
And I'm just going to jump in real quick. Lots of people actually spend more than $70 a month on their coffee, which might be impacting their health negatively.
Or just even an hour with a nutritional consultant.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Once a month.
So, but it is well worth investigating that. Thank you.
I think we're out of time for questions, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you for verifying the fact that I should live on milkshakes. My health has gone way up. And finally, we have Neuroblast GX coming on up here to do the last presentation of the day.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, judges. Today had a really excellent presentation, so that's great. So I'll be talking about our core technology, the human organoids. And I'm the company CEO and founder, so let's dive in what we have to offer. So theranostic for a next generation. So we are like very similar to the farmers, that farmers grow plants in the field, but we grow actually mini organs in the lab. So that is why we do that. Because of that is human mimics, little organs, and which can screen the drug toxicity pathogens and very complex disease like Alzheimer's disease and others. So why that's so important is this organoid? Why that all the researchers are so attracted to it? Because this is one of the important things everybody needs to learn. 90% of the drugs fails in phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials because of the safety and toxicity. And why is that? It's most of the study done by the rodent study. So all the animal study, which not replicate the humans, and then whenever it goes to the phase 3, which even more expensive and it get failed. And then Alzheimer's disease, the complex disease, is even 95% drug fails. So what's the solution? Lab-grown human organoids. So here is the one of the sneak peek. You guys all knows about the NBC's This Is Us. The Rebecca is the one of the brightest, family-minded, keeping Pearson family holding together, and she's like dying. She's like all the brain neurons is dying, and all the plaques, everything is growing, and this is caused by Alzheimer's disease. And we are okay. And also you can see the 40th President Ronald Reagan also died by Alzheimer's disease. So this is the one of the important thing, that 5th leading cause of the death among Americans aged 65 and older. So here's the interesting thing. So really, we have now more drugs for the mice or rats than actually humans. It's really practically true. And then so we need to really do something very near to your body and near to your mini organs. So what we can do now, so we are just can do the mini human brains. So here is the very interesting thing. We can understand the Rebecca's complex situation, why she's going through this, all the confusion, all the brightest mind, everything going to ends. So we are generating from human-induced pluripotent stem cell, which has no ethical issue because of its take from the skin. And this is the lab, and then we can grow the lab-grown mini human brain. And more importantly, you need to know that the brain has not only neurons, it's tons of the cells. Some cells taken up all the toxic thing and everything. We are making all those complex cells together, the central nervous system. And that is, we are making in our lab, and many labs unable to do this, even academia. And here is the thing, how we can solve the Rebecca's problem. We can just, even if we wanted to personalize her medicine, we just prick her finger a little bit and take the tissue, grow HIPC, and we can make mini brain. And this brain we can bring to the little hydropod electrode plate, and then we can able to see what kind of toxic protein has, and even within 15 to 30 minutes we can see the electric signal. This is real life we did, and we worked with the DOD DARPA, and they gave us seed funding. So it's the one awesome, we make in our lab gut, and which is the fully functional microbiome system. And we can make pretty much all kind of the grown complex mini organs, which we call organoids. And you can look at her, it's very scalable. We are working with the applied biophysics to make this plate. Now we are doing with the 96 well plate, and we are going towards to the 384 well plate. And this plate can be diagnostic awesome platform, and which can be able to be diagnosed any kind of compatible dose, which really for the human, and it could be give to you those shine your body. That's what you need. And if you see the organoid market, which segmentation is the billion-dollar industry. Whenever organoid, you are going through therapy, or in the various products, plate, media, and others, they are different. But you can see that our Nirobla GX actually proposed or hydropod electrode plate, which is cheap, and as well as others. So we compare all the thing, our market, as well as you can see line of the team and business team, and also we get all the seed funding. And thank you very much for your attention.
So, are you saying you can grow the mini brain thing? Explain that a little bit more.
Yes, of course.
And how does that help the Alzheimer's patient?
Of course. Thank you so much. Actually, this need to be understood better. It's not really 5 minutes talk. So, mini organs is like kind of the very mimic to your brain. So what happened? We take the human-induced pluripotent stem cell. If you know that stem cell has a lot of controversy because of they do have the embryonic stem cell. They even was banned, but currently that which is Yamanaga get the Nobel Prize because of that developing this human-induced pluripotent stem cell from the skin through the reprogramming, and then these stem cell from we actually give all the supplements which can be able to be make the mini brain. Actually, our lab can produce 3 millimeter mini brain. So far, in the scientific community, academia, and everywhere, they was able to make only 3 millimeter size. Because of it's the middle of the core, still we couldn't keep, long time keep. So we are developing, but 3 millimeter, this mini brain, there has all the neurons, all the network, everything what you need to study. Like, if you prick the Rebecca's hand, which I mentioned, she has Alzheimer's disease, and grow this tissue and ultimately make the growth supplements with convert those mini brain, which our company has the method to do that, and various scientific publication published, but they didn't make the complex structure, whereas all the varieties of cell. And you can be able to be this, we have the little electrode plate where can grow these mini brains, and these mini brains through the electric wiring connection, whereas the software, we can able to figure out, okay, what the severe situation, what the non-severe, what drug exactly we can put, is can working, looks like reduction of the amyloid beta, which is really the toxic protein. So that's the what total pretty much mechanism here.
So, yeah, I love this subject. I don't really understand any of it, but so let me ask you, how will you make your money?
But I love to be explained, no
Sure.
problem.
No, I mean, it's obviously, like, I probably need a medical degree. So how will you make your money? Is this through insurance or out of pocket?
So, which I showed in the presentation, our seed fund come with the 3 grants. One grant was Army contracts, another is DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, who give really novel idea. So we had a great organized this idea, and we wrote them, and they gave us the funding. And another is the National Science Foundation. These 3 funding help us to build this organized R&D as the phase 1 level. And we are going to be apply the phase 2.
I think what I'm asking is, so for the patients themselves, is that out of pocket, or you're hoping that'll be covered by insurance, or?
So this is the long way to go. So if you wanted to make for the patients, we are trying to be making the patients to be really determined that what kind of protein has there, all those things. But problem is we more likely to be catch pharmaceutical market, because pharmaceutical market is really facing big challenges because they all do with the animal. And we are wanted to work with them and make them the better model, and they can really predict better. That's what can be outcome, and they can ultimately clinical phase don't lose that's $20-30 billion, and lot of Alzheimer's 95%. Roche just recently get all those problems and get after phase 3 they get like out from the Alzheimer's disease this market. So that's not okay, because you are spending $1 billion and then after there is nothing for the Alzheimer's disease. So that is we are collaborating to make a good drug. They can make good screening with the human tissue, and that is a pharmaceutical company willing to pay billions for it.
So I was a bit lost at first, but I think I understand what's happening. You are selling organic material for these research facilities to test.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's not going exactly to a patient, but it's going
Not
to these
yet.
larger companies that
Yes,
are.
yes.
And the problem is that stem cell, because of all its controversies, is now kaput. It's gone.
Mhm.
So this is an alternative method to create.
Exactly.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
But about the down the road, people are focusing in the scientific community precision medicine, which is the personalized medicine, but it's going to take time, quite a while.
Right.
Stem cell, very expensive thing. Even with 3 grants and contracts we received, still we have to be hop up phase 2 to get more money to work more further. Stem cell, very expensive technology, but it's down the road can save so many lives.
Thank you. I'm glad the big brain over here helped me, the small brain over here, understand what was you were talking about. You know, with a 5-minute presentation, I think your slides were just, I was trying to soak it in faster than the 5 minutes would allow me to do it. So
Sorry about that.
You may want. I understand it now with all the conversations, but it would be helpful. You prick the finger, you find out what kind of Alzheimer, and then that helps the pharmaceutical companies develop better drugs. Is that?
No, that's exactly not. I'm sorry that because its presentation was so quick. So what happened, stem cell now we can grow from the prick your finger. Like suppose your finger, we can prick, take a tissue, we can grow the fibroblasts. And fibroblasts too, we can reprogramming, we can make the human-induced pluripotent stem cell. And this stem cell is a knife, like little baby. You can tell them anything they can be if you put the right growth factor, exactly like children, if you give the right things. So then it's going to be stem cell, and then this stem cell from you can make this mini brain, right growth factor, after mini brain, whatever you want. And that is we can do for the patients, but truth is the patients think it's going to take quite a while to go to personalized medicine to come that point. But if you know that Alzheimer's disease, 300 billion healthcare costs, just recently they published, and then towards the road it could be trillions. So if somebody wanted to save life, this money is nothing compared to for any drug industry who want to make drugs and cure that disease. How important that animal which is not a replicated human only can replicate that.
Is that everyone's question, or is there one? Do you have one, Tyler?
So, are you saying that each individual person, so it's not going to be a mass-produced anything. It's going to be based on each individual person's DNA or whatever. Is that what you're doing with that? I mean, by creating the mini brain thing, but it has to be each individual person.
So thank you. It's actually led a lot of the confusion. I can understand that. So what happened, the stem cell technology, what we are doing currently, from the stem cell, we are making different mini organs, which is mimic the organoids, which actually called the organoids, so which mimic your human organs, such as your brain. So this brain, we can make mass production. So we can ultimately check that some of the drug which are really necessary, then this drug we can put there and see that this really drug is like human compatible, it's really right dose, all those things. Yeah. Thank you. It's a very good question. Thank you. So my company is CES. So.
It's practically starting from beginning. We working with the pharmaceutical company. We help them to figure out the toxicity drugs and everything. And in the future, of course, we couldn't make experiment with you, right? But we could take from you your cells. We could grow up the mini brain and see how your mini brain react on a different medication or maybe different treatment or something like that. So that, but this is to be, of course, in a little bit more.
Further.
It's a lot to unpack in a 5-minute conversation for sure, but I would like to encourage you to get some of the feedback of speaking in layman's terms and synthesizing, because you're going to be asking for money, I hope, from investors who are non-technical, and discerning what the product is and your audience and your market and your solution in the first minute or two, concisely and in layman's language, will serve you well as you look for funding sources.
I completely agree. Thank you very much. It's too scientific, yes.
Now becomes the fun part where we take our judges and lock them in a separate room and they tally. The way this works is if their scorecard gives us a winner, we're not going to rank order everybody. We're going to tell you who came in first. You can all assume if you didn't come in first, you came in second. And if they come up with a tie, they are going to be locked in the room. There will be no hung jury. They're going to force order this and come out of the room with the winner. So we're going to give them about 10 minutes in a room right next door. If you see Gina Gonzalez in the corner over there raising her hand, there you go. Follow her down the magic road, and she's going to take you to another room so that way nobody hears the determination, and we'll come back in and announce it as soon as they're done. For everyone else, break time. we would love that. Maybe get everyone this way, front of the room. So if you presented today, please bring yourself up here. It's not working. Before we announce the winner, ladies and gentlemen, hey, everybody who presented today, can we get you up here for a quick photo? We're going to do a photo op before the judgment comes back. We want you all to look still happy. right, everybody, can we bring it back together for just a minute? If you would please pull up a chair, let's get the announcement for the winner. Patrick's going to have to do the shush thing. I will say we've done this for 6 years, and this wasn't even close. This was such a great combination of different types of startups and wonderful inventions and great presentations. This was phenomenal. So everybody did a wonderful job. But we have a winner, and our judges have come together. When we announce the winner, if we could have the winner come up here and do a photograph with the judges, we'd appreciate it. The winner is Swelter. Rebecca, you've won. Come on down. Congratulations. And we're going to do a couple photo ops right now, so if we could have all of our judges come up here with Rebecca and take some pictures.